Grand Hollis, everyone. All right, so before we show you some gameplay video, which we're going to do right off the bat, I do want to introduce everyone on the panel in case you guys don't know who they are. Directly to my left is Marcus Smith. He is the creative director, and he was the project manager on Resistance 2. He's worked in video games for quite some time.
And Resistance 1.
Oh, and Resistance 1, Fall of Man.
Hi, everybody.
Marcus Smith, everyone.
Thank you.
The recently arrived Grant Hollis is next to him. He's the art director on Resistance 3. He's worked on basically all of the PS3 Insomniac games, and Ratchet and Resistance alike, so welcome. Next to him is Kevin Groh. He's the animation director and a long-time Insomniac Games animator. He's worked on Resistance and Fall of Man as well. And he also comes from Disney and worked on all the great late 90s Disney movies, Hunchback, Hercules. That's true.
He personally...
Hi,
everybody. Kevin brought about an end to 2D animation, personally. That's what he did.
Those were good movies. And then we have two voice actors from Resistance 3, which we're really excited about. Robin Atkin Downs is here. He plays Joseph Capelli. You might know him from all sorts of things: Uncharted 3, Halo, Gears of War, No More Heroes, etc., and so on. He's also going to be in the Thundercats cartoon reboot. So thank you for being here. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Mumra's in the house.
Yeah, Mumra's in the house. Just wanted to start off this panel in the dulcet tones of Arnold Schwarzenegger this year. I. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And finally, we have Crispin Freeman, who's another voice actor. He's playing Charlie Tent in Resistance 3, and you might know him from Xenosaga.hack, Tekken 5, Crisis Core, also Naruto and Young Justice on television. So, thank you, Crispin. Is this game really more inspired by Fall of Man than Resistance 2? And
I think that it definitely harkens back to Resistance 1 a lot, Fall of Man. We really wanted to make it a greatest hits, kind of a best of Resistance 1 and 2. We really wanted to focus on the theme and the story of the game. So bringing back the weapon wheel was all about making sure the players had as much choice as humanly possible. So we want to make sure that you guys can choose which weapon you want to use at any given time, experiment, see how they work together, see what works against certain enemies, what doesn't. So I think it was more we were just trying to make the game that fit Resistance 3.
And I mean, what's the internal feeling, I guess, in Insomniac about, Fall of Man as opposed to Resistance 2? I know that the reaction was a little more tepid to Resistance 2 than Fall of Man. So I mean, was that something you guys were thinking about as well? Were you thinking of the fans really in that sense, or?
We were definitely thinking about the fans. We were thinking about ourselves as fans too. I mean, we're the ones who have been making this game. For me, coming up on, I don't know, it's 7 years. Yeah. From Fall of Man up until Resistance 3. So, we all were somewhat divided on the way that we moved with R2, and, I think R2 is a great game, and I would never take away from that. It was just a different game.
Yeah,
and
I agree.
The two weapon system was built for that game, and the weapon wheel is built for the game that we're making now.
Right on. Well, I mean, I guess this would be the best question for Grant. I mean, the game, playing Fall of Man, playing Resistance 2, and then I've played the first 7 chapters of Resistance 3, and the game seems even darker and bleaker, and especially that scene. I mean, if that was even possible? I mean, what was it like, kind of developing the art for the game, and really under the fact that the Chimera basically won?
Yeah. So basically, for this game, the Chimera won. Humanity is lost. Pretty much, it's the end days. There's not much left. So I wanted to really get that across, or we wanted to get that really across through color, the artwork, the tone, the lighting. So yeah, it's a very bleak, kind of sad game. At least that's how it starts. And it's your mission to fix that and make it better.
I mean, one of the great things I noticed, and I guess any of the guys from Insom could take this one, is when I was playing Resistance 3 and really messing with it, I really loved the ancillary things you guys put in the game, and how there's a lot of intel and a lot of story to find if you guys want to find it. I was kind of curious how that seemed to be kind of a common theme in all the Resistance games, but more so in Resistance 3. And I was curious if you guys can kind of expand on the detail of what you guys did there.
Well, I know, and knowing you played through the first 30 minutes as well, like from the animation side, from the first couple games, we were making a lot of a military shooter. There was a lot of shooting animation, but we knew coming into Resistance 3 that we really wanted to establish that world. And so it was important to us that as you make your way through Haven as Capelli, that you're seeing the people that you're living with. basically establishing your society, your friends, your family, the people that you want to be fighting for. There's not a lot of that in the first two games. I think you can go through a lot and you won't see really anybody that you come across unless they're dead. So it was important to us to establish this story with humanity.
Yeah.
Basically give the player a reason to fight.
Right.
You know, you're trying to save your son, your people you live with, your family.
Right on. And I know, Robin, I know that you already, voice acted in Resistance 2 and you appeared in Retribution as well. I mean, so how was working on this game? I mean, did this game from, more of a voice acting aspect and kind of reading the writing and stuff, did the game feel darker to you when you were working on it, even darker than games past?
I just think it's a step up from R2. I mean, as they've progressed, the story, the characters, production values, I mean, everything has just kind of picked up, just gone to a bigger level. And in this game, for instance, we did a lot of mocap work, Crispin and I, and really took time to learn about the characters and took time to rehearse before we actually got down to the studio. A lot of times these motion capture sessions happen really quickly at the very last minute, and the whole team over at Insomniac really made sure that this was going to be their next epic game, and they wanted to dot every I and cross every T. Crispin.
Robin.
Crispin.
Robin.
Yeah, Crispin, I mean, I know your character, Charlie Tense, obviously, he's new. And so, I mean, did you go back and play the old Resistance games? And
I did not. I thought the game was called The Ballad of Charlie Tint. I thought it was all about me, and then I realized it was all about Joseph Capelli here. I had not played the earlier Resistance games, but I immediately went online to start researching it once it became a possibility, and I sort of became fascinated with the Tunguska event because it was something that I had been aware of before.
Right.
And this idea of having sort of an alternate reality, of having this sort of retelling and having the opportunity to have interaction with the aliens in an altered reality, in an altered timeline, an alternate Earth, is always sort of interesting because it's a great what-if question. How would things have developed around the world if things had gone that way? And I like it when it gets rooted in something that has a historical basis, because then it sort of gives it a veracity that it might not have had if it was just sort of, oh, something fell out of the sky. No, you can go back and go check in Siberia. There's a big hole there,
right.
And that's where it all comes from. That's sort of a nice touch.
No, I absolutely agree. The 1908 Tunguska event. Nice touch. Nice touch. So yeah, I mean, motion capture was already mentioned. We're going to see video on that in just a moment, and we're also going to get more into the story a little later. So I don't want to ask too many of those questions right now. But Marcus, before we get into the next video,
yes.
I would be loath not to ask about trophies.
Because,
because I care so deeply about them.
We have them.
Resistance 2 had the infamous 10,000 kill online trophy. I mean, can you tell us a little bit about if you guys are going to go down that route again, or?
Colin, why do you have to be a jerk?
See if anyone got it first.
Yeah, actually, did anybody get it? No. I know, of course not. I know. I'm sorry. Wait, you did? Yeah. Nice. Get up here. You should be on this panel. Look at him. Yeah. It was a grind. It was a grind trophy, and we don't have any grind trophies in R3. I just want to let people know.
Yes, I'm happy about that as well.
Also, Robin, you were the voice of the medic in Team Fortress. Is that right?
Yeah.
That's the medic from Team Fortress.
Any Team Fortress fans out there?
Yes. You see the medic right there? The medic right there.
Archimedes!
So we want to leave enough time for all you guys to ask them their questions in a while. So we're gonna get right into the next video. So yeah, we need to lower the lights again. This video is about well, I guess you'll see. It's about motion capture.
Motion capture. There's clearly not enough Crispin in that video. Sorry, Crispin.
That's all right.
It was.
I got the last word.
That's true. You always get the last word. No, Charlie Tent, his character is awesome. I can't wait for you guys to see him. We haven't really shown any footage of him, but he's awesome.
So Kevin, I know you were really intimately involved in obviously the motion capture and stuff. So I mean, how was the decision made to abandon what you guys did with Fall of Man and Resistance 2 and do something a little different?
It was kind of one of those things where we were always trying to see if we could evolve the process, because we didn't use motion capture on Resistance Fall of Man, and then we brought it in for R2, and it was kind of a learning experience just on that title. And again, I think coming from our background, we were comfortable as animators wanting to do facial, and we weren't really necessarily confident with what you could do with facial capture at that time. So we made the decision to just go ahead and keyframe the faces. when we wrapped R2 and we're starting R3, one of the first things that we wanted to test at that time, because we did notice there had been a lot of advances in facial performance capture. So we did a test early on, and that's actually where I first started working with Crispin. I worked with Robin on R2 when we weren't doing facial capture, and we wanted to do the test, which we took an early scene. It's one called Hideout, which is actually where Capelli and Charlie first meet and have a little conversation. Yeah, conversation.
A scene.
Who's a bigger?
Oh yes. Who's the cock of the walk?
But yeah, and we picked that scene in particular because my personal feeling anyway was, as far as capture goes, there's a lot of different ways you can do it. There's people that will do capture, body capture separately than facial, and you can get a really strong facial performance if a guy's sitting in a chair and just, you're getting all that data. But to me, there's a disconnect between when you're reading from a chair and there's the actor that you're supposed to be performing off of isn't across from you, rather than what we try to do on our stage is get these guys in the volume together and be able to, how would you actually respond if this guy kind of got in your face? And to me, I think that the acting flowed, and I was certainly happy with the results going that way.
Right on. And I mean, Resistance's story is so strong, and I think that's probably one of the strongest aspects of the game. So Marcus, did it make it easier, this new way of capturing and this new way of kind of evoking feeling or whatever, did it make it easier to tell the story that you guys were trying to tell in Resistance 3 as opposed to what you guys were doing in Resistance 2?
Well, I really wish John Paquette was here. He was the writer who was on the video there. But he could tell you that I think what we got from it is a lot more nuance, that people could have more subtle subtext to their acting performance. That we wouldn't normally have necessarily picked up on, that you may lose something moving from actor to animator to game that we got. So there are a lot of times in the game where I still play it and I'm looking at the cinematics and it's like, man, that was subtle and spot on, like a really poignant performance. So I think that's what we got from doing it.
And I know Robin and Crispin, this must be, you guys are really, you guys are experienced voice actors in gaming. Have you guys done anything like this before? And did it really change the way you deliver your lines, and did it actually make it easier to kind of play your character?
Yeah, I think games are becoming more and more real, and it's because of the interaction between the actors. There's definitely it's a complete difference between just imagining all your surroundings, imagining who you're speaking with, and actually having them there. And you're actually, that's ultimately how it should be. You're having when you're acting, listening, responding, you're just having a real moment. So I think that's why it plays off.
As voice actors, we do a very good job of trying to make it look like we've all been in the room together. But the fact of the matter is that most of the time when you're working on a video game, it's sort of like trying to record an entire orchestra one instrument at a time. And we've gotten very slick at making it sound like we were all in the room together, but it's still not quite the same as when we're all actually in the room together and can play off of each other. Mm-hmm. And then what's great is that this thing happens where the whole is greater than the sum of its parts, where suddenly the reaction that I have with Robin on something inspires John as a writer to come in and say, no, let me change that line. Now it's not reading the way it was before. And so there's this wonderful sort of back and forth that happens between all of us. And when we're done with it, we're like, wow, that's better than we thought it could be. And sort of this wonderful happy accidents can happen over and over again when we're all there together.
Yeah. But the first time that somebody asked you to put on a motion capture suit, did you guys think you were being messed with?
Yeah, that was ridiculous. Covered in balls. And on this particular one, there was a lady, I don't know where she lives, but there's a lady who lives up in Canada who is responsible for creating these tiny little balls that are put on your face. And I don't know. There's she charges a certain amount of money for these balls, and some of them had good sticky stuff on the back. Some didn't, and it can hold production. She's got a lot of power up there. She's got a name too. It's like Kathy. Well, these are Kathy. I'm like, well, Kathy didn't make a good bat. No, you don't want to upset Kathy, because then you'll just get balls that'll fall off.
Never upset Kathy.
I don't know if anybody caught it in the video where. We had, obviously, Robin in there as Capelli. Kari Walgren was Susan, Capelli's wife. We had a baby, which was, as you can see, like half mannequin body that had like a mesh head.
We had a lot of fun with that baby.
The baby looks just like you, Robin. It's amazing.
And Grant, I mean, having worked on a lot of Insomniac games for some time now, and being in charge of the art direction for Resistance 3, I mean, did this new way of motion capturing help you tell the story that you were trying to tell in your art? I mean, did it make it more fluid in the sense that Resistance 3 is darker and bleaker, and it's now more believable as well?
Oh, for sure. For sure, it makes it more believable because the animation is more. Got a lot more nuances, a little smaller, just the small things that you don't really notice normally was big. But it also allowed us to do more with the post-processing and stuff like that because we were telling a story that had a lot more emotion, a lot more feeling. So we did a lot of stuff like that because of that. So.
And I mean, Kevin, now that you've worked with this and you've proven that it works, and then are you guys going to use this similar system in the future for whether it be new Resistance games or what you guys are doing Overstrike and whatever you do in the future? Is this going to be kind of the thing you do from going forward? Or are you going to?
It's hard to say because each title is kind of its own. I mean, if like the next game was a Ratchet game, obviously we wouldn't.
Right.
So it would vary based on the title. But I mean, I was certainly confident. With the process after having gone through the tests, and again after really taking it all the way through and the results that we got, I would absolutely do it again. Again, really, I kind of feel like if you want a strong character performance, you got to let these guys do their thing, and getting it all at once. Get body data, get face data, get audio from the mic, because to me that's where these guys are at their best.
It also helps, though, to have Kevin there to directing us and understanding how animation works, because I've always been obsessed with animation, but I can't draw. So my way of contributing to animation was always through voice acting and storytelling and writing. But I did learn sort of the basics of how animation works, and it was wonderful with Kevin to have that notion, because as far as I'm concerned, when we're doing motion capture, what we're really doing is sort of puppetry. And so we have to understand how things look and how things will look believable as sort of puppets. So we were doing our sort of being John Malkovich thing up there. And what might look great if we actually were filming in 70 millimeter is not going to necessarily read quite as well when we're being these sort of digital puppets in the world. And so, when you get close up on our faces, we get all sorts of detail of our facial acting. But then when our bodies move, there's a certain way you need to be in that VTOL so that you look right when you're jumping out. And it was always great to be checking in with Kevin and saying, Kevin, how are we doing? Because he had such a great eye as an animation director to be able to say, yes, that's reading well, that looks believable, and it's going to look really cool. And there was one point where he had this amazing quad-core laptop, which like no one had at that time, and he had the entire helicopter, the whole VTOL, on his screen, and he was moving our performances around the VTOL to make sure it was all matching around. I was like, dude, you're the man. That's amazing.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So I did promise you guys something I know Insomniac's very excited to reveal to you guys today.
Sure.
Right? So without further ado, I guess we're gonna, we'll need the lights lower just one more time. All right, so when we first started talking about this last week, Marcus and I had this epic email exchange about global resistance, and so I'm just going to ask the same exact questions that I asked the first time.
Please act surprised when I answer them.
Okay, please, yes.
Right.
So, I mean, to me, global resistance looks somewhat like, I don't know, like Shogun and Risk and Axis and Allies and stuff like that. I mean, so exactly what is it? I mean, what is the nature of global resistance?
So Global Resistance, it's funny you mentioned that. Those are all inspiration pieces for sure. Global Resistance is a web-based companion game to go along with Resistance 3. It's a strategy game. The unique quality that I think is cool is that everybody in the world is looking at the same map and seeing what strategic elements are being used across the board, so that their team, either the human or Chimera, are taking over what region, what territory. So it's kind of a massive strategy game that people will be. You can see there's base building and there's kind of player versus player challenges that you can do. But you're choosing your side, human Chimera, and you're basically working to get the resources to take over the world for your side. Everybody working at the same time on the same map, same regions.
So, I mean, I
with
saw
nudity.
Okay. Remember what it says on the back of the card.
Oh yeah, it actually does say on the back of these cards, please be aware that members of the audience may be under 18 years old. Which is good because I normally swear like a sailor.
So I saw the PlayStation Network logo and I saw the Facebook logo, so I was a little confused, and the next thing I asked you on the email was, what is the, I mean, so could you play it on PSN? Could you play it on Facebook? I mean, it's basically just on the website, right?
Yeah, it's on the website, but it links to your PSN account. So as you showed there, we have a lot of crosstalk between Global Resistance and Resistance 3, so that you'll be earning like multiplayer skins or bonuses, both from going to and from the game. And then you can tie your Facebook account to it so that you can log in via Facebook. You can post to your wall. You can talk to your friends, chat with your friends and everything. So it's on myresistance.net as a web-based game, but it ties in with Resistance 3 in a number of different ways.
Okay. And who developed it? I mean, where did the idea come from? How long has it been kind of in the works?
Percolating. I say that we probably started talking about it about a year and a half ago. We talked to a bunch of different developers. We internally developed the basic idea, and then we started working with our developer Soap Creative Designs, who they were also doing our MyRes update. So we're having the whole website is getting revamped, but they have some good experience doing online games. They did the Marvel Ultimate Alliance 2 Civil War Online and some other games that were super fun. So they were a perfect match. I mean, their temperament too works really well with us. Like it's all jokes with them. Every time we have conversations, it's always just like making fun of each other, pretty much. So we work with those guys really well, and it's been a great experience. They've taken it and they've made it much better than we initially had envisioned, and we're really, really happy with it. I think it's cool.
Cool. And I mean, when can we start to play it? When is there going to be a beta or anything like that?
That's a very good question, James Stevenson, project or community manager over there. You should be able to play it tomorrow. We're going to limit it to a certain number of players, so it's kind of first come, first serve. We need to definitely do some beta testing with large numbers of players. But you can go to myresistance.com/global.
And hit F5 over and over again until it starts.
And hit F5 over and over again. Oh, .net, sorry, myresistance.net. You would think I'd know better.
So I mean, Kevin and Grant, I mean, since both of you have been working on Resistance for a while, and I mean, this is maybe a good sign that Resistance is going to keep going after Resistance 3. We have this game, we have the Vita game that we don't know much about. Is this a sign that we're going to see more Resistance in different kinds of ways in the future? I mean, and how would you like to see Resistance, I guess, portrayed?
Well, we did the comic books a couple of years, or last year, so hopefully we'll have more of those, because those were really cool. I'm a big comic book fan, so that for me was pretty interesting to do. Obviously, they got the PSP Vita game, and who knows what else is next. Unfortunately, we can't say.
What would you like to see, though?
I would like to see more Resistance games.
Yeah.
Me too.
Okay, fair enough. I'd like to see a Resistance full-length anime.
Ooh, how about a live-action Resistance movie?
That would be cool, too.
That'd be
Like
sweet.
the teaser trailers we did.
It's kind of like Falling Skies. It's my new obsession. So yeah, I mean, this is perfect. We have 20 minutes to begin Q&A. So if anyone has questions, you can either queue. We're in a small room, so I mean, you can probably just raise your hand and there's a mic in the center, but I mean, this is a small room. You can probably just shout.
Yeah.
So,
And if we don't like your question, we'll just pretend we can't hear you.
Yeah, the mic in the center if you want, and you can queue up there, or you can just scream at us. Oh. Oh, that's
Mic
oh,
for
mic for
recording purposes.
Oh, I see. So you must go to the microphone.
All right. But you're first.
We're all on mics.
Sorry, James.
You get to be on mics.
Line them up.
Sorry.
Perfect.
No?
Check.
Yeah, there we go.
My name's Andrew Champagne, and will we see any of Nathan Hale in Resistance 3?
You will see Nathan Hale at the very beginning of the game, kind of filling in what had happened at the end of R2, and then subsequently, immediately after that. He is not in the game. You won't be fighting him as a half chimera, half human boss. It's not Metal Gear that we're making here. He fulfilled a role, and we want to show sort of what that role is. But this is strictly the story of Joseph Capelli.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ray.
Okay, just real quickly, are those T-shirts available here at Comic-Con?
I don't think so.
Okay, and this is my question. In the future, for Insomniac, will you be partnering with Sony for any new IPs?
Never say never. We have a great relationship with Sony. We really do like those guys, especially the group of people at Sony PD up in Foster City. We've been working with those guys for like 15 years now. I mean, Ted goes way back with those guys. It's all business at this point. It really is a business decision. And if the right deal came up, I'm sure we would take that personal relationship and run with it.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thanks.
First of all, thanks for the insightful panel, gentlemen, and beyond.
Beyond.
So, motion capture, right? That's something new.
Wait, what's
Stepping
that?
it up, motion capture. So, I don't mean to compare, it's just a good example. Uncharted, right? They've been doing it for a while now. So, what are you doing to kind of, if you are, that is, what are some ways you're incorporating the story now because you can possibly in the gameplay? So, you bring out those nuances of the story that you couldn't get, you could only put in cutscenes, for instance.
Yeah.
We have all these.
If you have the assets that are the same, I'm not even sure.
Right, so in this game, we have all these vignettes when you're underground where Capelli lives, and there's different people trying to survive. Your son is down there, your wife is down there, there's other families, and as you're walking around, they'll interact with you, they'll say something, they'll be doing something. I believe there's a lady washing clothes, there's another lady sweeping. They're basically living down there. So, and they're all motion captured people that are down there.
Yeah, I think making a world that looks lived in, that it feels like a real immersive world, and you can kind of see how everything's going on. Again, the focus was to show the human side and how all the facets of humanity, and I think our motion capture allowed us to do a lot more animation, I guess, than we probably would have if we were keyframing everything with our animation team. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. And that was the thing. We had a ton to do on this game because of what we were doing with Haven in terms of introducing that group. But also, as you work your way through the game, there's like Marcus just mentioned, there's different ways that humanity is handling the way that the world is, and we kind of cover a variety of how those humans are dealing with this. Some deal with it better than others, and so
it's not always good.
There was a lot of animation that went into this game beyond just what we expect out of a shooter, which is a lot of deaths.
Thank you. Sounds like a lot of good work.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Hi, I was wondering if there are any plans to take any of the Resistance titles to PC.
That would be up to Sony.
Yeah, that's a Sony.
Our
Sony is the owner of the IP of the Resistance franchise, and that would be totally up to them. But Insomniac doesn't have any plans to do it. We don't do PC development. We don't have any experience with it anyways.
All right, thanks.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, I was wondering how is the multiplayer going to work? Is it going to work like R2 where it had the 3 different types of classes, or?
It's a little bit, I mean, so for Resistance 2 we had kind of 3 distinct modes, right? We had single player campaign, we had multiplayer, and we had the standalone co-op mode that was 8 players, and it was class based. We had 3 classes, you built them out, you leveled them up. people really seem to like that. They like leveling it up. They like doing it. So what we try to do is focus a lot on this game. We made co-op through the campaign because we know that a lot of fans really wanted that. But we didn't want to stretch ourselves too thin. So we took a lot of those key elements from co-op and put it into our multiplayer. So now with multiplayer, you have loadouts that you build up, and it's not so much I'm picking a class. I'm not the medic. I'm not the support guy. It's more you sort of purchase the abilities and the weapons that you want to have increase your gameplay. So if you're a support person, you're like, I really like giving my team. Get away from me! You're creeping me out. if you're somebody who really likes to, it's always don't give me $1,000. So if you're somebody who likes supporting your team, you can purchase ammo beacons that will not only give you ammo by laying those out, but it will give your teammates, and you start getting XP and things. So again, it's like a soft class, and so far it's been really cool. Like, especially with a smaller number of players, you see the loadout that people have when they kill you. And so you can, on the fly, change your loadout to counter. So if somebody keeps killing you with some weapon or ability or something, that we always have counters, and you can go and purchase a different ability to take care of that person, as it were. So it's kind of soft class based.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I lost a bet and got saddled with this question, so
Me too.
if I offend anybody up there or over here, just the messenger. Don't shoot. One of the things that a lot of people have been talking about is Resistance kind of seems like a slightly differentiated Halo, even with some of the core story elements, some of the firing elements, and some of the other forms of combat. Did you kind of jury-rig any of the ideas that you saw Microsoft use, or did that inspire anybody in any way, or?
No, I mean, I'll be totally honest. When Resistance 1 came out, I mean, we were all playing Halo, and the things that Bungie did in terms of aim assist and camera is amazing. And any developer that wasn't stealing from them was foolish, because they really, I mean, Halo was like the first playable first-person shooter on the console. A totally paradigm shift,
right.
for console play.
Well, that led into the second question of, now does you said Sony owns Resistance 3?
Right.
So is there that possibility that they're going to do what they did with Halo and just, keep going until they eventually run it into the ground?
Man.
Just
started out
These are hard
complimenting
questions.
Halo and ended up insulting Halo.
I think it's a question for Sony.
Yeah. I mean, I hope not. I mean, again, this is the last Resistance game that Insomniac is doing so far.
Okay.
So I can't say. I have no idea. I can't predict the future. I sure hope not.
Yeah. All right, cool.
It would suck to have your baby smothered in front of you. Figuratively.
Unless it's got a mesh face, and then there's no
under
problem.
18 in here.
Well, I didn't say smother the people under. Oh, I'm sorry. Please. All right.
It's fine. So I played the first two, and the gameplay mechanics of it felt extremely different. How is the third one going to feel? It's going to feel like the first, second, or is it going to be a very big mixture?
It's interesting because Colin was kind of asking the same question, because we do have that schism, that divide. And I feel like when you're building sequels, it's always a sort of damned if you do, damned if you don't. Because if you make a game that is too different, the people who love the first one are obviously going to hate the second one. And if you don't make it different enough, people are going to be like, well, you're just doing the same thing over and over again. Thanks for wasting my time and money. So I definitely feel like Resistance 2, we went in a very different direction. And Resistance 3 is definitely, I would say, not split down the middle, maybe closer to Resistance 2. We are embracing that sort of action, exotic weaponry gameplay of Resistance 1. But we're setting it in a very, I mean, we learned a lot of lessons doing 1 and 2, and we're setting it in a very immersive world. So maybe closer to Resistance 1 than 2, but definitely more of a modern shooter feel.
Okay.
With cherries on top.
How's it going? I'm still thinking about the Halo comment. So, when's the open beta start? Open beta gonna start for the Silicon players?
First week of August is when the open beta is starting.
And what modes are gonna be in it? Same ones in the.
I'm sorry, what was that?
Which playable modes are gonna be in the open beta?
Deathmatch, team deathmatch, And what? And chain reaction, yeah. Not that, oh yeah, okay.
Three
And
modes.
3 modes will come out. No.
Just team deathmatch? Okay, so 2 modes, team deathmatch and chain reaction.
Bam. Glad you showed up.
Better late than never.
Hi.
So for Resistance Global, in terms of gameplay, is it going to be like massively multiplayer or small 30-person party games, or?
It's definitely your base. It's you challenging people. So the massiveness of it is really the map. And when you're fighting skirmishes on the map, you're fighting with thousands and thousands of people who are online. So in that sense, that portion is massive. But you're not going to be interacting with individuals along the way, other than the PvP matches, which are very invite your friends kind of thing. So I think it feels more personal.
And so, and the matches, are they about how long do playtests show they often last for, like months or less or more?
We're actually still playing around with how long the matches are going to last. We really haven't been able to test it with a large number of players, but we're guessing weeks. It's going to definitely be in the week range. Multiple week range. We want to make it an important enough event that when one or the other team wins, it's kind of an event, and then we'll reset the war and start over. Cool. Thanks.
Takan, Beyond.
Beyond.
Okay, so I played the demo for Resistance 3 today, and I'm really excited about it. And I'm sure you've gotten this question a few times, but where do you get a lot of the ideas for the weapons you implement in the game? Is it like just saying, oh, wouldn't it be cool if we could do this, like shoot over here while shooting over there, as we saw in the video? And yeah, that's my question.
It is pretty close. Yeah,
All right.
We've cut a lot of weapons that were just too uber. They were just too. I mean, pull the trigger and everybody dies in an exotic way, and that's fun, but it gets kind of old after a while. We were a lot more pragmatic this time around on Resistance 3. Basically, all the designers, we would get in a room and we would break down just weapon types, because at the end of the day, there's only so many types, archetypes that you can have for weapons. There's projectiles and beams and electricity and blah blah blah, and you go around. So we basically would have these lists, and we kind of like look around and go, okay, we want to have a weapon that's like a crowd control weapon. What would be good? Well, obviously beams are pretty good. Area of effect is pretty good. Okay, how can we make this interesting? And really, it's everything's been done, so it's really the how do you make it different. So for example, we have this the gun called the Mutator that we've shown a little bit. That it started out as one of those weapons where you're like, man, this sounds like it's going to be too much animation, and there's going to just be, there's no way. The idea is it's made by this dude that you meet in the game, this gun, and he's extracted basically leech juice, I guess. So it's a weapon that pneumatic, it shoots globs of this pneumatic virus-y stuff, or the alt fire is like an AoE effect. And when people come into contact with it, when you get globules on it, you actually like get really sick and become covered in globules and basically become a little bomb. And the upgrade for it is the guys will become like suicide bombers and go after their allies and everything. And in concept, it's like, this kind of sounds like it could be interesting, could be a problem. But then we had like one of our animators and one of our gameplay programmers just took off with it. And they started doing like, the Steve Ryder was doing all these animations. It's so disgusting and all this stuff's going on. And everybody was just like, tell me more, this is lovely. And it really is super fun to use. And so inspiration for our weapons comes from all over the place. Ultimately, it's how do you make it fun? How do you make it compelling and still challenging? We do still have a few uber weapons, but we keep the ammo light.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Beyond.
Beyond.
First, I want to say
It's like a cult. It's creeping me out.
the gentleman who voices Capelli, I think he looks like Fabio. Good-looking man.
Look like Fabio.
Probably just the hair, I think.
His hair's a little longer.
Grant,
I can't
earlier,
believe it's not butter.
Grant, earlier you talked about More Resistance, you talked about the Vita game and Resistance Global. When you were talking about More Resistance, you meant PS4, right? You guys are working on that one? Spill it. Come.
You mean Capelli's Return?
No, the Ballad of Charlie Tent.
Oh, okay.
The next Resistance is going to be on PS4, though, right? You guys are working on that? Okay, that's a crappy question. Anyway, will all of the panelists who worked on Resistance 2 sign my copy of Resistance 2 that I brought? Can I get an autograph?
Hell yeah.
Thank you.
Nothing better to do. Hell yeah. Yeah. He's going to sign it Fabio, but...
This is a question I read about recently about Resistance 3, the multiplayer. Part of what you're trying to do is to make the people who are playing the multiplayer, feel that they are, feel as much as the people in the single player that, about this end of the world scenario, basically. But my question is, how will the people playing as the Chimera be feeling?
Dominance. Yeah, I mean, it's a multiplayer game, so at the end of the day, we can't be as, you can't craft a theme as much, right? What we try to do in single player, like an example is you'll hear radio messages as you're moving through, because the humans keep in contact with the radio messages. You'll hear from battles that are going on around the world, and those locales are where our multiplayer maps are. We tried, from an environment standpoint, it definitely feels like you're in an area that's being taken over. So I think if you're playing human, you have that recognition of like, this could be your hometown, or this could be whatever. If you're Chimera, man,
You're just a badass, just killing everyone.
You just feel ruthless, I guess. Yeah, it's. I guess we showed both sides there.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. One more question.
Final question.
As storyline seems to, or tends to flow from the console game to console game, would you consider the global, if they had trends happening of one side keeps winning or such as that, would that affect?
Everybody wink.
There must have been that mutator gun.
Yes.
Would that affect story and future console game considerations?
We did have we talked about the possibility of that happening, and basically, like, that one of the ideas was if the Chimera won a war, maybe the multiplayer maps it would be snowing or it'd get colder, since that's a Chimera trait that they're trying to do. And ultimately, it all comes back to the Chimera have a lot cooler representation when it comes down to, like, they've won, and we didn't really have the capability to say, okay, the humans have won, now there's no more rubble. Or like everything's nice all of a sudden. Flowers and rainbows. So we didn't end up doing that. Of course, the flip side of that is, what if the development of Global Resistance went horribly, and now we've got Resistance 3 is tied to it so tightly. So it really is more of a game that's standalone, that has ties back in. It's more of a companion game, but I would say it lies outside of the canon of the Resistance universe.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Cool. So that's all the time we have, guys. Thanks. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thank you guys for coming. And please give a hand to Colin, who's never moderated before. Yes. Cool.
Yeah, that's it. Oh, and Resistance 3 comes out September 6th.
September
right?
6th. Please go get it. We're very proud of this game.